Welcome to the Style Sports Hub, presented by UF Health Medical Group Orthopaedics.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Sports Hub podcast presented by UF Health Medical Group Orthopaedics. I'm your host, Kyle Coppola. Today we are on with TJ McCoy. TJ is a former NCAA Division I offensive lineman with the University of Florida. You also played for South Lake High School back in the day. Yes, thank you for coming on to the program, TJ.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be on this podcast. I'm from Lake County, so it's great to come back and just talk about sports and whatever I can just give my knowledge today. So thank you.
Yeah, you had a fantastic career at South Lake down in Groveland and played on many great teams down there, especially your junior and senior year where you ended up winning 7 games, then 8 games. Your senior year, we went 8-3 down there back in 2015. But talk a little bit about the South Lake program, and then you got recruited to NC State first, and then you transitioned to Florida. So how did that kind of process go, and how did your career end up?
Yep. So whenever I first got to South Lake, obviously I got there as a freshman. I was able to play varsity my sophomore year. I was kind of like, I was doing everything. So I started off at tackle. My sophomore year, I was playing right tackle. And then midway, I want to say our last 3 or 4 games, they moved me to guard. So I played guard, and then my junior year I played guard all year. And because of my height, I'm 6'1", 6'2" on a good day. A lot of people, I was going to the Under Armour. I don't even know if they still do this anymore. The Under Armour All-American camps. And I remember I went to Under Armour All-American camp, and it was a coach, offensive line coach. He said, "You're a center." And I was like, "What?" I said, "I've only played tackle guard." He's like, "No, you're a center." And Mark Willem, my head coach, I believe he said he had a dream that I was playing center. So going into my senior year, going into that spring game, I played my first game at center against South Sumter. And after that, the rest was kind of history. I got most of my offers that spring and going into the summer. My recruiting process was very late. My dad and I didn't really know what went into recruiting back then. My dad came from the 80s, so he was like, have good grades, have good film. So we didn't really know about all these camps that you had to go to. So the senior year, going into my senior year that summer, I went on the road. I went to Georgia, Florida, NC State. That's where I got my offer. Dave Doran gave me my offer at an NC State camp. And then obviously I went and early enrolled there. Funny story, when I early enrolled at NC State, I always wanted to go to Florida. When Coach Muschamp was there, he just, I didn't fit what he wanted. Obviously I'm not super tall lineman. So he didn't want to give me an offer. I went to the junior days, went to the camps, did well, but I just didn't fit what they wanted. So whenever Coach McElwain got the job, I remember I'm early enrolled at NC State, right? And the offensive line coach, Coach Summers, calls me. I'm already up there in North Carolina. He's like, "Hey, we want to offer you." And I'm like, "I'm already up at NC State." So I really wanted to be a man of my word and just stay there. But halfway through that spring semester, I remember I came home after spring practice, and I figured out my dad was still sick. So when I was in high school, my dad had a battle with leukemia and went into remission my senior year of high school, but then it came back. So that's what kind of made me want to transfer. And then even at that moment when I transferred, I didn't even know if I was going to play college football anymore. Because obviously, you transfer and you hope that school still wants you. But Florida still wanted to give me an opportunity, and that's how I ended up at Florida. So.
And talk a little bit about your dad as well. I mean, obviously a 9-year NFL veteran, had a lot to live up to yourself, but you end up playing for the University of Florida and Louisville, your final senior year as well. Talk a little bit growing up in an athletic household. Your brother also played for South Lake High School. You two played with each other as well at South Lake. So talk a little bit about growing up like that.
So growing up, the biggest thing my dad did for me, and I believe every parent should do this, he didn't blow up my head. He was like, "Look, just because I played in the NFL, I played in college," he said, "it don't mean you're going to make it." So he was very real with me, and my brother as well. He was like, "Look, y'all are going to have to work twice as hard." because obviously I played. He said, but just because I played doesn't mean that you're going to do what I did. You're going to have to put in your work. So one thing that he told my brother and I was like, just because you're good here in Lake County doesn't mean you're good in Orlando, Miami, Tampa. So that was his biggest thing with me growing up. Once I started this football journey, he would say, okay, well, once he found out about the camps, he would take me to Tampa, he would take me to Orlando, he would take me to Miami, and he would be like, if you do good at these camps, then after we do good at those camps, then we're gonna go to Georgia, we're gonna go to North Carolina, we're gonna go to all these different camps, because you have to prove that you're not just good in your state, you have to prove that you're good everywhere. Yeah. And that's how you become a complete player. So just growing up, obviously you have a lot to live up to. I grew up, whenever I started playing the game, I just grew up. I said, hey, I want to be better than my dad. I want to be better than him. That was like my motivation. I mean, obviously I wasn't able to achieve those heights and going to the NFL because of my health. But that was the biggest thing for me. I wanted to do that. I remember my dad played in the NFL and he never won a Super Bowl ring. So like growing up, I was like, I want to win a Super Bowl ring, give my dad a Super Bowl ring. But obviously that didn't happen, which is totally fine. I mean, me being on this podcast today, I just want to tell all the athletes, just because you don't, let's say your end goal is the NFL, if you don't make it to the NFL, it doesn't mean you still can't be a successful person in life. So. And
you are very successful right now. We're going to get into that in just a moment, but I want to talk about what ended up happening at college, because you ended up going through an injury at the University of Florida and then came back your senior year for Louisville. But what ended up happening? What went down?
So funny how we're talking about this, because obviously I remember last week you had the accident. So when I was at the University of Florida, I had got hit by a drunk driver. So like, I mean, obviously I don't think everybody can see this, but obviously there's a mark right here on my head. I was on a scooter. I was coming home from the library late night, and I was driving home to my apartment, and I got hit by a drunk driver out of nowhere. And then I was unconscious for like 30 minutes. Like, people thought I was dead. So like, I woke up, I'm in the hospital. I'm like, man, what happened? And it's like, you got hit by a car. So after that, I still kept playing after that. I didn't realize at the time it was just a concussion. So it was just a really bad concussion. So then I kept playing football after that. And then I remember going to Louisville. I also had like some knee surgeries. But I mean, knee surgeries like meniscus, that's just part of the game. Like, people still play with that. But my head injury was the one that really did it for me. I remember I did my pro day, and a scout from the Miami Dolphins said, hey, look, man, like, love what you're doing. He said, but just your health. Like, he was straight up with me. He was like, your health, you know, it's a risk. You know, a lot of teams probably aren't going to want to sign you because if you do take a bad hit, that's a lawsuit. Yeah. And that's when I kind of realized, I'm like, hey, this is a business, man. They're thinking about every single little thing. And after that moment, that's when I decided to say, you know what, I'm going to go do different things with my life. I'm going to focus on different aspects. So
that brings up to mind Junior Seau. That also brings up to mind Aaron Hernandez and the CTE that these guys. Aaron Hernandez played right around the time you did as well. That all of that combined, you make the decision to not play anymore. What was that like? I mean, it was the game up.
It was a very hard time in my life because, I mean, a lot of athletes are going to go through this even after high school. I mean, obviously I had it happen after college. It was depressing, man, you know, because like you do this your whole life. Obviously you're like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be in the NFL. This is the life I want to live. It was depressing, honestly. Like, I'm just being completely honest with you. I believe every athlete goes through that. So I'm not saying, you know, this is like a pity part for me. I believe every athlete, whether they play in the NFL, I personally believe if you make it to the NFL, then you stop. It's probably even worse because you've been doing it so long. Right. You know, I'm kind of, you know, thankful in a way that it kind of ended early for me versus me going to the league and playing for X amount of years, then stopping because it's a real transition period. And that's something that my dad really helped me out with. He went through it as well, even though like he had a great and successful career. It was hard for him because you've been doing something for so long. So it's just kind of like, what do I do next? Right. But I would say the biggest thing that helped me during that time was obviously my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, my parents, and my wife at the time. That's when I met my wife during my transition period outside of football. So,
and even before that, though, you ended up at Louisville. You transferred to Louisville your senior year, and you got to do some internships and start to work with people and started to morph out what you wanted to do after your football career was over, because football obviously is not going to last forever. Right. So you sort of delved into that. What did you do at Louisville, and what did it lead to?
So I was doing an internship. It's called the Beers Recreation Center. So it was a center that was dedicated to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Mm-hmm. So like, if you think of like any gym, community gymnasium, it was all dedicated to people with disabilities. Mm-hmm. So I interned there. I'll play sports with people, card games, and it was just a great time. Like I believe I had like the best time up there. And then I realized, like, man, I remember I came home just during when I was at Louisville. I was like, man, we don't have anything like this down here in Groveland or just Lake County in general. So that was kind of like my motivation to kind of get started what I'm doing now, which I own a healthcare agency called Master Caregivers. We provide services in 5 different counties for families with intellectual and developmental disabilities on Florida's Medicaid waiver program. So,
how did you get that started? Like, was that intimidating at first to go and do your own business?
It was very intimidating. I had help. Obviously, I had the support of my family, but I had great mentors. My aunt, Wanda, she was a Medicaid waiver provider. She did group homes. One of my mentors that goes to our church, Mr. Ron, he owned an adult day training facility. So I had mentors that kind of helped me, guide me through the process. It was still intimidating because I had to take all these classes. I had to learn about Social Security, all that stuff. And really just I had to develop a plan, and that was very intimidating. Even during that time, I mean, my wife can attest to this. I was working 3 jobs. I was doing security. I was doing like overnights. I was doing a whole bunch of stuff just so I could raise money to start my thing. And then even after I started it, you don't just start just hiring people. I was doing caregiving. I was helping families out. And I kind of used that money that, we made for the services that I was providing to start hiring other people. And God has blessed us to be where we are today.
Yeah, and you're doing a great thing in the area, and it's needed in our community too. Why is it so needed? When you like back in 2014, 15, and now you have it going in our area, but really it's not just Lake County. It's all over the place that this care is needed, and we have an influx of people coming to the state week after week, month after month, and they need care. How important is that to you?
It's super important, especially in the field that I'm in. Obviously, like everybody knows about Medicaid, state insurance. So it's people that don't really have the finances to pay for United Healthcare or Florida Blue or any of those other insurances that require you to pay a monthly premium for that. So it's kind of, we work with people that, obviously they don't have the finances, but most importantly, like they really need help. When I got started into it, I was like, man, like I took it upon myself. Like, man, if I don't show up or if the people I hire don't show up, these people don't get help. So that's kind of like the mantle that I take even within myself with everything that we're doing, specifically in my field with Medicaid. It's a lot of fraud that goes on. So I've heard a whole bunch of stories with agencies before I would get a case. They're like, hey, the last agency I had, they never saw anybody, but they billed my insurance. And now I have to wait to get services so they can clear up all this fraud. So like even from that standpoint, I was like, we have to do stuff the right way. We have to make sure that we're showing up on time. We have to make sure that we're billing the right way, because at the end of the day, it's not just about the money. You're really keeping these families that receive these services, this funding from the state, from our state to make sure that they have the services as long as they're here with us. So
it's an amazing thing that you're doing, and we're thankful to have you in the community doing such great things. We're going to actually talk more about your football career as well, and what South Lake has going on as well, because South Lake has some really good things going on. Coach Willem's back. We'll talk a little bit more about him in just a moment. We're going to take a short break here on the Sports Hub. When we come back, we'll have more with TJ McCoy when we return.
Is pain or restricted range of motion keeping you on the sidelines? Get back in the game with expert orthopedic care from UF Health Medical Group Orthopaedics. UF Health Medical Group Orthopaedics provides robotic-assisted surgical joint repairs and replacements, post-operative care, and inpatient rehabilitation services, all close to home, right here in Lake and Sumter counties. And for those unexpected injuries, UF Health Medical Group Orthopaedics offers convenient walk-in and same-day appointments. To learn more or to schedule an appointment with one of their specialists, call 352-323-5665.
Hey, everybody. We are back here on the Sports Hub podcast talking with TJ McCoy. Thanks for being on with us, TJ.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We're talking a little bit about your career. We're talking a little bit about South Lake football right now. And just two or 3 years ago, they were 0-10, and they're coming back. They actually made the playoffs last year, which is a very exciting thing. But they've got Coach Mark Willem back with them. Talk a little bit about Coach Willem, because he was your head coach back in the day. Kind of took a break from football there for a little bit, but now he's back with the program, which is really exciting.
It's a great thing. One thing when I was at South Lake that we were known for was running the football. We had two great running backs. We had Chucky and Kevin, and we ran that football. We ran that split back veer. So I'm glad to see Coach Willem back. And that's really, if I could be honest, I believe being able to run split back veer, that's kind of what got me into college. Obviously, people don't run split back veer in college, but it kind of gave me that mentality just to be
Army or Navy.
Yeah, just to be tough. And I think that's something that kind of like really separated me, especially in recruiting, was just like, if they put on my film, it was like, this dude is killing everybody every single play. So, and I learned that from Mark Willem, just with the run game. So I'm glad that they're back and they're implementing split back veer. So I'm glad to see that back. So
Brad Lord's been known for that as well. He coached down I think Foundation Academy for many years. Had great success down there, and he brought a lot of that success up to South Lake. It took a year or two to get things settled last year or 2 years ago. They ended up winning 2 games, but now this team's looking really good coming into 2025. They got a great quarterback. Trey Kelly has been fantastic. They've got McKinnon, the running back, who's really exciting. And a great offensive line, which we're going to talk about right now. The offensive line in this area, you have developed a camp for a lot of these offensive linemen to go to during the summertime. Talk a little bit about that camp that you guys have been running.
We did our first camp last year. And the reason why I started doing this is because whenever I was in high school, we didn't have anything like this. So we didn't have a local person saying like, okay, we're going to do an O-line, D-line camp. Corey Vereen, who I work with, we played against each other at Tennessee. So I remember we got introduced to each other, and I was like, hey, man, like, why don't we start an O-line, D-line camp, do some trainings around here, because we don't have this around my area. Yeah. So, every Saturday, even we're doing it in the spring, but we started our first camp in the summer. We had about 25 offensive line, defensive line. And the way we do it is we do it like college. So we do it individual, then we do run fits, then we do individual again, then we do one-on-ones. So a lot of the stuff that we're teaching the guys is what they're going to learn in college. And then also taking what we taught them and transition it to the season. The biggest thing that we told them is that, hey, if you can't stop the run on defense, or if you can't run the ball on offense, it's going to be a long day. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very excited about that. South Lake has a lot of talented guys on the O-line and D-line that I'm excited to see. And I really want to keep working with them to see what they can become, because, I tell them all the time. They bigger than me. So I'm like, look, I tell them, look, ain't no reason why you shouldn't make it. I said, if I can make it at 6'1", 6'2", you 6'4", 6'5", you should definitely make it. Yeah. So we just want to continue to give them the tools to be successful and develop into good future players. So
there were some great rivalries back in the day as well. Still some great rivalries. Anytime South Lake gets together with Lake Mineola, that's always a fantastic rivalry. One of the best, I think, in Lake County. And then, of course, you've got the rivalry with Eustis and Leesburg was a great rivalry back in the day. You played a couple of games against Leesburg High School, and that was a great rivalry for a while. Hopefully that's revived as well between South Lake and Leesburg, and even South Sumter. You see all the talent. The Villages is on the up and up. So there's a lot of talent in the area, which is really exciting. And they can also be a part of these of this camp. It's not just South Lake.
Yes, it's not just South Lake. We have guys like even the camp we did last summer. We had South Lake, Wildwood, Tavares, Mineola, Eastridge. We had all kind of guys come to the camp. So this is something that's for everybody. Obviously, I know I'm South Lake alum, but we're doing this camp in Lake County in general. Anybody who wants to come and get better. Because the biggest thing I know is that the reason why I made it is because I had a dude in my family, my father, he played pro. So like, that's why I made it. But I want to take all the stuff that I learned in college, the stuff that my dad taught me personally, and just give it back to the kids in the community. So
Shave Reed, former New England Patriot as well. Really exciting to have him with what you're doing. What was that relationship like? How did this start really? Because obviously you started at Tennessee to played against each other. But what has that been like kind of working with him?
It's been a great experience. Perspective. That's one word I would say. Whenever we met, we got reintroduced to each other. We were just like, man, I know you. I was like, I know you. So we're able to just talk about our careers and just talk about, hey, maybe stuff that we could have did better, and give that back to the kids. That's really the biggest thing, is that me and Corey want to take what we learned playing in college, him playing for the Patriots, being around guys like Tom Brady that done it at a high level, and give that knowledge back to the kids here in Lake County. That's really the biggest thing from this. Obviously, we're going to work hard. We're going to do all that stuff, but really telling them the mental things of the game. This game is obviously physical, but if you don't have it up here mentally that, hey, you're finna, hey, as an offensive lineman, as a defensive lineman, you get hit every play. So mentally, you have to be ready for that. So that's a big thing that Corey and I are just really honing in on the kids.
What's one thing you wish you would have known back when you were a high school athlete that you'd like to tell your younger self?
One thing that I wish I would have told my younger self is you have time. I was always in the mind frame whenever I started, especially when I got to the University of Florida. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I said, I wish I would have took more time just to learn. I was so focused on like, I want to play right away. I want to play right now. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't realize that I had a huge learning curve. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously, like I'm coming from my offense in high school, then I got to learn coverages. I got to learn at center, mic points, all that stuff, formations. So one thing that I would tell myself, my younger self, is just to take time and learn the game. I believe I had a great attitude, but learn the game, learn from older people. I personally believe that whenever I got to the University of Florida, I was very angry because I was like, I'm undersized, nobody thinks you're going to make it. So, but that me having that mindset forced me to kind of like be like a loner. Yeah. So I wish I would have, learned from older guys, just take time to learn the offense, and really just build better relationships with my teammates. I still have good relationships with my teammates, some of them today, but particularly in my position group, I wish I would have did that better.
Being that you're 6'1", that's on the not the smaller end, but I mean fairly smaller end for an offensive tackle at the NCAA Division I level. Usually you got guys 6'3", 6'4", 6'6", and above. what did that do for you getting to college, and how did that motivate you? I mean, you come in, you might not have been the biggest guy, but you were super strong out there, and you earned some starting time with the University of Florida as well.
Right. I mean, it was just a motivating factor for me. My dad was undersized as well at his position, so it was just like, hey, you have to go out there and earn it and take it. And one thing that I'm proud of is that everybody that I play with, they're like, hey, man, you have my respect. You know, my first start was against LSU. At LSU, so
Tiger Stadium.
So we played against Jamal Adams, Leonard Fournette, all those guys. So that was my first start in the SEC, and that was a very big moment in my career that we were able to win that game and go on to the SEC championship. So the big motivating factor for me was just saying, hey, you know, you're undersized. Nobody believes in you anyway, but go prove them wrong. So
what was that like going from, because South Lake, you got the one grandstand on that one side, and you're standing on that field, and you're looking up and you're looking around at Tiger Stadium, because Tiger Stadium wraps all the way around you. What was that like for you? Like just your first start? That must have been amazing.
It was surreal. I'll tell you that. And Tiger Stadium is huge, man. It's like it's over 100,000 people in there, and the fans are loud and just crazy. But I kind of came into like that year, that my redshirt freshman year, I kind of was like, I really want to prove myself. I want to prove myself to my teammates, to my coaches, that, hey, I'm not going to let you guys down.
Yeah.
That was my biggest thing, because I had they gave me an opportunity, and I wanted to prove to them that, hey, you guys are okay. That year we had a great season. You know, we had our starting center, Cam Dillard, he got hurt. And then Tyler Jordan, he was the backup. He was a starter at guard, but he was kind of like the backup center. And then you know, he had got hurt as well, and I got kind of pushed into that role. So one thing my dad told me was like, hey, it doesn't matter where you're at, make sure you're ready for your opportunity. So that was a big motivating factor for me to not let Coach McElwain down, who gave me opportunity to come to the University of Florida, not let those seniors down, you know, the people I played with. So
you've been coached by a lot of different people over the years. What's the best piece of advice you might have ever received from a coach?
Well, it's two coaches that I want to really give credit in my college football career. Coach Brad Davis, he coaches at LSU right now, and Coach Dwayne Ledford. Those are the two best people I've ever been coached by in my career. Coach Davis won a national championship with the Oklahoma Sooners back in 2000. And Dwayne Ledford, he was an offensive lineman in the NFL for about 7 years. But the biggest thing that they taught me, obviously they're going to teach you X's and O's, but it's really just the mentality, man. And the biggest thing I like about guys, and that's why I kind of like doing the camps and coaching now, because people that done it. So like, you know, Coach Davis did it at a high level, and he's giving you what he learned. And Coach Dwayne did it at a high level, and he's giving you what he learned. Was just a mentality. You know, this game today, I believe the game today is different from even when I played in college. It's just different. You know, the styles and everything. But one thing that doesn't change at the lineman is mentality. You have to love to hit. And that was the big thing whenever we went to practice. He was like, they're like, who gonna be soft today? Who gonna be soft today? Is it you? Is it you? That was the biggest thing, that they were just making sure like everybody was ready just to go to battle. So
kids also don't probably know what double sessions are either. You remember the double sessions that we would have to go through back in the day. Now they've kind of done away with double sessions.
When I was in college, and this is real, even in high school, we had 2-a-days. I had 2-a-days from high school, and I believe my second or third year in college. That was something that, and whenever they ended that, I was like, thank you God. Thank you God. But even when my dad played, when my dad played in the 80s, he said they had 3-a-day.
3-a-days.
And I said, I couldn't imagine doing that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So
that's
these
like
kids, they got it good. They get paid. They get paid. They only got to practice one time.
What do you think of the NIL deals nowadays? Because that came in obviously after you were in school. What is your thoughts on that?
I don't really, me personally, I know a lot of people have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it if you're worth it. So I believe in, hey, you're worth this, you get paid. So if you're that guy, I don't mind you getting paid because you deserve it. What I don't agree with is it's just kids that, hey, you're offering a kid from high school that you don't know if he's going to be good, but you're offering him $10 million or you're offering him this and all that stuff. And I just believe that kind of takes kind of the hunger out of the game. But I don't have a problem with it. I think it's, hey, if you're worth this, you get paid what you're worth.
Yeah.
You know, but in my opinion, I don't believe everybody deserves it. You know, I believe NIL, name, image, and likeness, your name. What's your name worth? You're a freshman out of high school. You may have been an All-American in high school, but what are you going to do now? You know what I'm saying? So I personally believe if I were to say, hey, wait until after that first game or that first season before you guys give all these kids all that money, because, you know, even in business, you don't want to invest in something to be a bad investment. So.
And you know about good and bad investments, being that you're a business entrepreneur. Your advice to young kids coming from high school and starting your own business, what is your advice? What's the best advice you can give somebody for being an entrepreneur? So
it's funny that you're talking about this. We actually did a business panel last night with my nonprofit EYP. So we did that last night. We were talking to kids about entrepreneurship last night. The biggest thing I would tell young entrepreneurs or just kids is just to go into it. That was the biggest thing for me. Like, obviously I have a mentor, you know, have people that are in your life that support you, but just go into and do it. Know your finances, you know what I'm saying? Have a good business plan, understand how much stuff costs and all that. But really have a passion for what you do. Even as we're talking, I'm passionate about helping people with disabilities. You know, I'm passionate about giving back with kids and everything like that. Make sure that you actually like what you're doing, because if you're just doing it for the money, then whenever you start and you ain't making money, you're going to want to quit. So you actually have to be passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah,
so.
and your brother is getting into some stuff as well. He's getting into some real estate stuff, some cybersecurity stuff. Isaiah played with you a little bit, which is great for him as well, and great to know how he's doing. How's your dad doing, by the way?
He's doing great. He's in great shape now. Both his cancers. So my dad had leukemia when I was in high school, a little bit when I was in college, and then he had got diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma when I was in college at UF. And he won that battle. So cancer's been in full remission. So his health is good.
Great.
Everything with our church, Hope International Church, is going well. Our school, Hope Preparatory Academy, is going well. So he's doing good. Him, my mom, celebrated just 33 years of marriage last year. So everything's going good.
Let's talk a little bit about Hope Prep. That's a great new program that's down in the Groveland community, and a lot of kids are really excited about it. They've got a basketball program down there that did great this season. They're on probation. They're entering the FHSAA next year, which is really exciting. They're going to be playing against some great schools. Leesburg, they competed against this year. Eustis, they competed against this year. Talk a little bit about Hope Prep and what that's all about and how you can get involved in that.
Right. So our whole mission with Hope Preparatory Academy is to educate, elevate, and empower our students. So we're a K through 12 school. We want to make sure that all our students graduate with a diploma, obviously, but we want all our students to go college, whether you're going there academically or athletically. We want you to get a trade. We want you to either go into business, is that something that you want to do, or going to and serve our great country and our military. That is what our school is all about. And just regards to our athletics program with our basketball team, you know, Coach Dwayne Foreman, and then even just me and my father and our whole family, we are about winning and dominating. So any kid out there that wants to win and dominate and get recognized and go to college, this is the school for you to go to. So
and the basketball program's coming along there, and you've got plans for other sports that you're going to be adding as well.
Yes.
What kind of plans are in place for the school right now?
So right now we're working on expansion. Obviously, we have a great head of schools, Michael Randolph. He's our new head of schools now. So we're really working on expanding our enrollment. So we really want to start doing different sports like golf, football in the future. We just have to find a site where we can build a stadium and everything. So that's something that we definitely want to do in the upcoming years. So we're very excited.
You've got a brand new complex going in behind us, actually, in Leesburg. So that could be on the docket in the future as well, which is really exciting. But you've got some great things going on. I want to thank you for coming on to the program today. It's been very enlightening talking to you. And we're best of luck. The spring football season is not too far away, about a month away, which is really exciting. How are the guys getting ready for that?
They're doing really good. We have a training, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday. So, and our trainings are real. So, like, it's not just a play thing where you come in there, no pads. Like, we say, look, bring your helmet, bring your pads, because we're going to work. So, I'm very excited. It's an offensive lineman. His name is Christian at South Lake High School. He plays right tackle right now. So, he's been making a lot of great progress. He's about 6'4". So I believe that if he has a great spring game, you can see a lot of recruitment coming in for him as well.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. This is super exciting. Thank you for coming on again.
Yes,
and best of luck with the rest of the year coming up.
Yes,
all right, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Sports Hub. I want to thank TJ McCoy for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. I want to also thank our partner, UF Health Medical Group Orthopaedics, for putting this on. Well, we're going to see you on the next edition next week on the Sports Hub. Thanks for joining us.
This has been the Style Sports Hub, presented by UF Health Medical Group Orthopaedics.